Good Saturday morning to you, and this has been one snowy week that we have had, and but we're in Ohio. We know how to deal with it, and so I want to welcome you to the Everything Real Estate Show with David Angione. This morning I have with me Dan Dehoff, the president of Dehoff Development. Is that correct, Dan?
That is correct, Dave.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what Dehoff Development is and what you do there, and how did all of Dehoff get started? Share us a little bit about that. That'll be interesting.
Well, first let me answer your first question. We are a full-service real estate development and brokerage company. We look at opportunities throughout the area. So some people say that people who are opportunistic, they look at that as a negative thing. I look at it as a normal thing. We look at opportunities, generally real estate oriented. Little history on us. I'm third generation, 44 years old, and I'm lucky I have good parents who've helped me out and good grandparents who've started the business. Technically, Dave, my grandmother started the business. She took a leap of faith and started a small brokerage operation, and she grew it pretty rapidly, and she was able to coax my grandfather, Glenn Dehoff, who had a very good job at the Hoover Company at the time, into joining her, and the two of them grew the brokerage business. My dad came along, Bob Dehoff, and some of you guys might know him. He's been a great father to me and a good role model. He took the business and started really development. Grew the brokerage business as well, but started land development, and married my mom, Linda Dehoff, and she had some connections at the county level. Her uncle was a county engineer. So back in the day, I think permits were a little easier to get than they are today for us, David.
Sure, I'm sure. So I'm just amazed at the insight and the wherewithal to do something like this, and just to kind of step out and have that vision to where a good development is going to be and all of that. So that amazes me.
Well, it's I wish it was more of a science than an art. Again, I think we're blessed. We're a blessed group with blessed individuals around us, and I truly mean that. We have great people that we can rely on and tell us about what's going on and where they think we could add assistance. But we do roll the dice. I have a less risk tolerance than my father does. My parents specifically have a large risk tolerance. What I mean by that is that they'll roll the dice on something early on, meaning buy a property or buy a farm, and maybe it might be 10 years ahead of where growth is headed. They'll hold on to it. Their purchases in the past have been very strategic looking back for the most part. We've had a couple winners and a couple losers. At the end of the day, the winners have outwon the losers, and therefore we're able to keep in business and grow the business and grow relationships. I will want to point out, Dave, that I think there's a change in real estate development. Back in the day, it was, you controlled a property, you controlled the deal. And I think moving forward, our business is more based on relationships today than having intellectual property or physical property or even a deal in hand. You have to have people want to work with people they like. People want to work with people they trust. And moving forward, we have been able to forge some relationships in the past 15, 16, 17 that we'll be able to move into 2018. And I think those relationships are just as powerful as owning property.
Okay, so when you say relationship, obviously talking individually, other companies, what are we looking at?
Oh, that's a good question. So let's say a grocery store operator, and there's several looking at the state, might contact you originally about a site you had a sign on. That site, let's say, doesn't work for them, but you can grow it into a relationship where you find out their needs, you find out where they're looking, price points, and before you know it, you forge a relationship with someone who, you're in the tent instead of outside the tent. And being in the tent with someone can open up opportunities. for not only us but for others. And these relationships are important to us moving forward. They're very valuable.
And you mentioned something about know, like, and trust, and that's something I've heard that more this year than any other year. People want to work with people they know and they like and they can trust, and so that's where the whole relationship comes in. It comes in for you. It comes in for myself as a realtor, and it just really, really works when they know, like, and trust you. So it's not something to just walk in and say, "Hi, I'm here." Guy yesterday said people work with people. They're buying you, not your product, and that's so true.
Yeah, people work with people they feel trustworthy with and want to work with. I will say something interesting, and since you mentioned a realtor, back in the day, people would come to us and say, "Hey, I just want to have a bigger home or upgrade." It seems like today, Dave, relationships are formed sometimes at the beginning because there's a crisis. So I think realtors today, and Dave, you're good at it, solving problems. At the end of the day, people come to us and say, "Hey, I'm unfortunately getting a divorce. It happens," or my husband lost his job, or there's some activity in the neighborhood we don't like, or there's a change in the school system, or something. There's a crisis of some sort. They can't afford their mortgage. And as realtors, we've gotten pretty good at listening to those needs and trying to work with their current situation to find something that's more suitable for them, that's going to allow them to continue their lifestyle the best they can, have it be if they're upgrading or downgrading, whatever it is. So I just thought I'd mention something I see changing as we move ahead is real estate professionals have become ultimate problem solvers because they don't know how to do it on their own, and they do need help, and we can add value.
Well, and you're right. And it's always that better when you have that third party looking from the outside in, takes away some of the emotion for the individual going through that problem. So let's talk, if you want, a little bit about what goes into, say, like a residential development from beginning to.
So we look at on the development side, a good portion of our portfolio is just land development, residential, house sales. Some of you out there listening today might know of a new road going in near them or a new allotment. We do that. We feel like we do it a little bit different than others. We generally are attracted to larger projects, ones that we can master plan and have some economies of scale. There's the same amount of hurdles for the small projects as there are the larger projects. So the same amount of work can go into a large project, so to speak, as a small project. So we are gravitated towards the larger pieces of property. And for good or for bad, David, that also eliminates some buyers. Right. So we have less competition on the large sites because there's a lot of smaller sites around that anyone can do, and we're a little bit better suited and better geared, both resume-wise, capital-wise, and experience to handle the larger sites. So with the residential land development, some of the things that make us different is that we do in-house architectural review. Now, please bear in mind, this is kind of confusing to some people now and then. I've had someone say, I'm going to buy a lot from you and I'm going to pay $80,000 and you're going to tell me what I can build? Kind of. What the intent of the architecture review is, and we do it in-house, we also have an architect we correspond with, is that we pride ourselves on not duplicating design, not duplicating materials, so you don't have houses that look identical. Some people say, allotment looks like a cookie cutter, and I think they're referring to they're all the same, or they're all the same color and general design. Sometimes that's okay in a condo association when you're going for that intent, but for an open development, land development, you want diversity, you want different product types, you want no one to copy each other's look and feel, have it be from the brick to the color to their to little things like that. Give you one example on a site plan. If you have two driveways coming out, and they're coming out on the same side yard, we try to alter that. So it's not uncommon for us to tell someone to flip their home and put the garage on the other side. Those conversations are generally easy. It's a harder conversation when you have to tell someone that fluorescent yellow is not an acceptable color. Yeah. So it's not like they're trying to cut a corner, but they're just have some not bad taste. I don't know how to say it, but they're picking a color that at the end of the day is probably not appropriate. So our office handles that. Those little differences at the end of the day, David, add value and add insurance that the vacant lots next to you are going to go through the same thing that you are going through.
Well, and that's the thing. Everybody is treated fairly here. And as you were talking, I'm thinking about, okay, so it may sound mean-spirited or whatever when you're saying you can't have your fluorescent yellow, but keep in mind that when you have the beige color and a nice brick and everything, and the person next to you has that fluorescent yellow, and someone comes to look at your house, that fluorescent yellow color or the bright purple or whatever color it may be there, that's going to affect the value of every home in that development. So that's what they're trying to protect by doing something like that. If I'm correct, you're trying to.
That's correct. I want to say some of our projects, and this might sound like a selfish comment, I feel appreciate some quicker than some other developments because of little nuances like that there are some careful consideration of making sure that design isn't duplicated. A couple of things, David. We add, I know it sounds simple, a street tree to each lot. Typically it's a sugar maple to 2-inch caliber tree. Those trees here in Ohio grow very quick, and looking back, even on a development that's 15 years old, which in the grand scheme of life really isn't that old, these trees are big and healthy and beautiful. We also work hard on uniform mailboxes, and all of our projects have sidewalks. Sidewalks are, and a funny thing with a lot of counties these days, they aren't required. But once you put them in, you then need to bond them and insure them and plow them. So they don't make it easy for someone voluntarily want to put sidewalks in. But when you add the architecture review, I should mention covenants and restrictions for a second. Covenants and restrictions are going to tell someone what they can and can't do on the property after sale, after building. And it can be as simple as, no RVs in your front driveway or no above ground pools. Now, I'm not saying that those are bad things. Those are appropriate at times. They do need to be shielded and protected. So we have covenants and restrictions on each project that ensures that the long-term intent of the development is met. Talk about RVs for a second. I have an RV. I love traveling with my 3 kids and my wife in the RV. I do keep it at my house. I do have a certain situation where my neighbors, I'm distant to my neighbors, but some of the developments that we're creating don't have any shielding like that between house to house, and it's probably not appropriate to keep the RV in the driveway for months out of the year. So our covenants and restrictions protect that kind of stuff. You can't have a car that's not drivable with the tires off for more than 7 days. You can't have an RV. You can't have a boat unless you're unloading and loading or cleaning. The intent of the covenants and restrictions is to give a couple guidelines to you and your neighbors of, hey, we're in this together. We're all adding value to the neighborhood together. And we work hard on our covenants and restrictions to add value.
Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of a break and hear from our sponsors, and we'll be back in a minute. Again, this is David Ian Jones with the Everything Real Estate Show, and here with Dan D. Hoffman. We will be back.